You were talking about John Voight and Burt Reynolds earlier. I love that this film takes those two actors and just makes them swap facial hair. I thought that was hilarious. You're watching Drive-By Movies. My name's Blaise.
My name is James.
And never have I ever seen Deliverance.
These are the men. Nothing very unusual about them. Suburban guys like you or your neighbor. Nothing very unusual about them until they decided to spend one weekend canoeing down the Coolawasi River.
Deliverance is the classic from 1972, directed by John Boorman. It stars John Voight and Burt Reynolds. Intent on seeing the Coolawasi River before it's dammed and turned into a lake, outdoor fanatic Lewis Medlock takes his friends on a canoeing trip they'll never forget into the dangerous American backcountry. So this is a movie I've heard a lot about. It's not a movie I really knew the plot for, but it's something that I've seen in a lot of like top 10 craziest movies, top 10 movies you'll never want to see a second time. Never really understood why, because from that plot, I didn't really catch that vibe, but there is a line in this movie where I was like, oh, so that's what this line comes from. And it was definitely the most uncomfortable scene, but like I'm glad I watched that, and I'm actually surprised by how many movies have been influenced by this as well too. But Blaise, what brought you to want to watch Deliverance, and what'd you think?
I think we know it's a classic movie. I know I hadn't seen it, so that's kind of how deep that goes. I just wanted to watch it, cross it off my bucket list. I think, like you said, I'm probably not going to watch it again, but I know how good this film was. I just don't need to see it again because it's a little difficult to watch. There are some really adult themes, I guess you could say, as nicely as that I don't really want to rediscover. But I thought the film was incredible from the beginning, from the moment it starts. I thought this film did such a great job of character building as well as kind of building this setting. And I think other films kind of follow along that same path of doing similar things to, you know, really get you into the setting, get you into this backcountry that near this Coolawasi River. The banjo scene with the kid was absolutely incredible. Probably one of my favorite scenes, maybe even in cinema history. It's very iconic, but it was also something I was like, oh, that's where all that comes from.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was a really fun way. I know that happens very early on in the movie and stuff, so that was like a cool way to start and get us like kind of introduced to some future interesting, awkward interactions and stuff. One thing I wanted to like say was like after the movie I watched the trailer, and like that's one of the best trailers I've ever seen for a movie too. It's just like really like gets you interested, like, ooh, what's gonna happen in this movie, but doesn't spoil too much. And yeah, with this movie though, I like a lot of the like themes that it expresses. Like kind of one of my favorite books reading in school was Lord of the Flies, and it definitely has that like characteristics of like, you know, what is man capable of, you know, when like, you know, survival, when you're like pushed to the brink of survival and stuff. And this movie, you know, goes there and stuff, especially with Burt Reynolds' character as well as John Voight's. Well, actually literally all these characters, but specifically them too as well. Like John Voight's definitely the lead character in this movie, but like seeing what like kind of Burt Reynolds kind of transforms into, because it's his idea to go out on this trip and stuff, like was definitely like a fascinating character study. I could see why like a lot of film teachers would want to use this movie to show, even though I never got to experience that. But yeah, it's just crazy to see like a movie like this, you know, 1972, you know, about to turn 50 years old. Damn. Like just like, you know, it's been pushed a lot of boundaries, and like there's a lot of stuff like where, you know, like holds up really well today and are still pretty like sinister to watch as well.
Sam Peckinpah's Straw Dogs came out in 1971, the year prior to this film. So John Boorman's 1972 classic Deliverance, it seemed to be following trends that were kind of popular at the time, sending man into kind of this survival state, things that happen that are beyond their control, whether it's the wilderness or human nature itself. So that's something that I like, those themes that this film kind of explores. I think this film does have issues when it comes to that third act, and kind of it kind of goes off the rails in the sense that it kind of gets lost in a way. I like the ending of the film, but I feel like it kind of slows down toward once, you know, the antagonists of this film perish, and the film kind of almost loses its way in a way in the woods. So this is something that I didn't particularly love about the movie, but I still think the film is a classic. I still really think it will, and it has stand the test of time. So I really appreciated watching this for the first time. But one little special thing I did like about this movie, you're talking about Jon Voight and Burt Reynolds earlier. I love that this film takes those two actors and just makes them swap facial hair. I thought that was hilarious.
Good point. Yeah. Burt Reynolds not having his classic mustache that we see in The Longest Yard. Like, that's a movie I always knew Burt Reynolds for. Like, I always known he's kind of like a meme in terms of like the handsome macho man and stuff. And I never really got that from The Longest Yard, but I guess I could see it from this movie and stuff. I assume that's where he got it from. And I think he even said, like, fun fact, that this is the movie that he thinks that this is the best film he's ever worked on and stuff. And I can see that and stuff. I mean, I loved him also in Paul Thomas Anderson's Boogie Nights. We saw him like not that long ago on Never Have I Ever for my episode for that. But yeah, he's actually a really fantastic actor I need to see more of.
Yeah, I was going to say, but as we know, he absolutely hates the film Boogie Nights, or he did hate the film since he's since passed, but he hated that film. So love this film, though. Strangely enough, I feel like there's I guess his idea of the film might have been different if he was in Ned Beatty's performance, if he was in those shoes.
Come on, squeal.
Ned Beatty, I've only seen him really just in Superman, actually. And, like, you know, he was kind of the comic relief for Lex Luthor and stuff. So seeing him, I mean, he's kind of like the sarcastic one at first. But then, of course, when he's put into the, you know, the hardest scene to watch. I mean, of course, like, we'll just talk about it. But it's like kind of the scene that, like, everyone will always talk about. But the squeal like a pig rape scene and stuff. Like, I always heard that term, but didn't know it was from this movie and stuff. And never really knew the context of it. But just like, damn, it really like kind of just comes in out of nowhere, and just like the tension before it gets there, just because it feels so awkward. And you don't think that's what they're thinking. Like at first I thought it was just going to be a robbery and stuff, and like, you know, turns horror film-esque right in that moment and stuff. And like I definitely see the inspiration for like movies like we just checked out Wrong Turn, both on fresh releases and Never Have I Ever, both the remake and the original. And like I could see like, you know, the influences of this movie being on there, as well as like, you know, maybe some like, you know, I wouldn't be surprised if Wes Craven was slightly inspired for The Hills Have Eyes a few years later, because that would come out later on in the 70s when this movie came out in the early 70s.
That, but also I would think even his previous film to that, Hills Have Eyes, wasn't there a film that he did?
Oh, Last House on the Left, yeah. Good.
I would think, I don't know exactly the year off the top of my head that Last House on the Left came out, but I think that film definitely would have been drawing from films like Straw Dogs and Deliverance.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, definitely just that you know, that character study of just like, you know, what is man capable of, yeah.
I mean, if you guys haven't seen Deliverance, I honestly definitely recommend you guys checking this film out. I think it's definitely hard to watch, so there should be a trigger warning there if anyone is disturbed by, you know, some scenes that are, you know, obviously pretty disturbing. But I think it's definitely worth the watch. I think this film is absolutely incredible, and it's probably not going to be a film I watch again, but I'm glad I can cross that off my bucket list.
Yeah, totally agree with that. Like, it's a movie I could see myself watching again, but maybe just skip a scene or so. I think we all know what scene that is. But like, you know, for cinematography itself was really good. And I agree with like overall the kind of ending does feel a little bit more novelization and stuff. Kind of ends a little too convenient and stuff for these characters. I'm like, I'm pretty sure there's a little bit of evidence out there. But yeah, I'm definitely going to recommend it. I see why it's hailed as a classic and stuff, and recommend for any film enthusiasts who would love it, as well as like any nature thriller fans out there. There's a lot that'll hold up. So definitely check it out through our Amazon affiliate link in our description box below. That's a great way to help support our show. And after doing that, come back here and leave a comment letting us know what you thought about the movie.
And if you guys haven't already, go ahead, smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and click that notification bell to get all of our latest updates.
Also, if you can't get enough of us here on YouTube, we are also on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok. Be sure to check out all our social networks and our links down below in our description box. And that should conclude this week's episode of Never Have I Ever. Tune in next week for a brand new video.